Welcome to Gaming with MJ and Blue.
Let's talk gaming. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We are here to talk more about gaming. Now, you might be a little confused because me and MJ usually trade off hosting the episode. MJ is still not feeling very good. For those of you that listened to last week's episode, we are recording this the day after we recorded that previous episode because I am actually going to be out of town this week. So we wouldn't be able to do it. But of course, we wanted to keep up with our schedule. So we are doing this a little bit out of order. So, what does that mean for this episode today? Well, we aren't going to have everything that we normally talk about. As an example, Minecraft and Hightail News, we just talked about it in this past yesterday's episode. So even though this is a week later, we're not going to be able to have any new information for you, which is fine. But that cuts out that segment. Brief discussions of what we've been up to in gaming this week, or just in general. Same thing. There's not much we've done between last night when we recorded our previous episode and this morning as we're recording this one. So we're going to try to stick to the general concept, but this may be a bit of a shorter episode. But, in reference to what we do, we talk about gaming in general. A lot of times we mention Hightail, and because we're very curious about how that game progresses and everything that they're doing with that. But also, Minecraft is one of our favorite games. So we will talk about that quite a bit. But as far as today, we are going to get right into a little segment we call Tidbits of the Week. So this is usually a somewhat brief segment. If we don't get off on a tangent, me and MJ definitely get on tangents sometimes with these things. But this is related to any kind of news in general related to gaming that we maybe have found scouring the internet. So just looking at our first tidbit. MJ, you feeling up to maybe sharing that first tidbit we wrote down?
Yeah, and let me say, I noticed your little thumbnail for the previous episode yesterday's, so good job there.
You
Apparently,
like that one?
my little avatar has the sniffles. That's
I thought that came out pretty good.
great. Okay, so Sega Genesis is coming out on June 1st with, is it Lego? The nostalgic and love Lego. Of course, people love Lego. It's going to cost about $40, but there's what is that? It's the game, right? $40 for the game, $39.99. So it's a Lego Sega Genesis game, I guess, right? Is it full Lego or is it theme on it of some sort?
That's right. I meant to set a link so you could see what it looked like. Basically, what it is it's like most Legos, it's for collectors. But this is a literal reproduction of the original Sega Genesis console, complete with two controllers. So it actually looks pretty cool. So when I saw this, I'm like, okay, that would be a really cool decorative
it's the console.
It's the console, yeah.
But in a Lego format.
Yeah. It was pretty cool. They've done this a few times. They've done it with Nintendo systems, NES, I believe, and I feel like they've done it with a few other too.
They brand consoles all the time, make a Minecraft version of the Xbox, or so whatever.
Mm-hmm. And of course, Lego is so popular. I mean, it's crazy. It's cool, MJ, and I was just looking at this. I just saw a video on this. There was a guy who on YouTube, he was showing off how he 3D printed it at larger scales, and you could do it at normal scale too, but his own Legos. And there's actual STL files for 3D printers of all the Lego pieces, the Lego style.
Shame. That's not...
Well, I think if you're selling them, but I think for personal use, because Lego, I believe Lego, this was a few years ago, they don't necessarily own the rights, the full-on rights to the blocks anymore. That's why you see, like in Walmart, the big department store here in the US, that's where you see a lot of these off-brand Legos now. Whereas before you couldn't do that because for a while they had this I don't know if what exactly it was, like a patent or something that explicitly said nobody else could make these types of things. But now it's open to other companies to do. So you technically can do it. I don't know if I feel like it's in that gray area of whether or not to sell them, unless you got some specific, things to do with that. This was a few years back when they kind of had changed that. So anyway, I just thought it was kind of neat because this dude literally printed uh, large scale Lego pieces. I've actually seen two different videos of two different guys doing this, and he rebuilt a Venerator class starship from the Star Wars series, but at a larger scale. He was
Mm.
joking around. He was saying, ordinarily, if you were to buy this Lego, it's like $300 or $400. He's like, but I was able to do it for significantly less by 3D printing it myself.
But he did it larger, so each brick is actually larger than an official
Mhm.
Lego brick.
Yep. Yeah,
Huh.
it was pretty cool. I actually wouldn't mind playing around with it sometime. And then there's another dude that I watched. He actually went even larger scale, and he built a almost a relatively large scale castle. So like you could actually walk through it and everything. And it's all out of Lego bricks that he 3D printed, but extremely big.
I mean, definitely cool. What a
It
great thing to
is.
do.
Yeah. So I whenever I see stuff like this Lego Sega Genesis pop up, I think, man, that's actually a really cool item to have, to throw out there,
Yeah.
because especially if you're just a nostalgia person, you really enjoy. Um, Maybe you grew up with a Sega Genesis. We actually had one growing up for a little while, and we loved the thing. I remember playing Sonic a lot on it. Uh,
Oh, yeah.
so anyway, yeah, it's definitely a cool thing, especially if you're a collector of Lego and a video game connoisseur.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely left its mark in people's minds. The Sega Genesis is definitely a
Hmm.
console that's like fits in the psyche of, especially young men or young boys or maybe women. I don't know, but that definitely fits in that aspect. Oh, speaking of Star Wars theme, the next one is PowerWash Simulator has a DLC release this summer that is Star Wars themed.
Hmm.
So it'll feature locations like Hoth and Tatooine.
Hmm.
So it makes me think of that video where that guy completely fleshed out the battle of, let's see, it was the one, it was in Clone Wars where, uh,
Clone Wars, Geonosis.
Geonosis, yeah, he did,
Hmm.
he did the Battle of Geonosis with the, just everything. And he did it on a huge scale. Like he did it, well, not, he didn't change the scale of the Legos, he just built everything with
Mm.
normal Legos. But I mean, it is massive what he created, and it shows the making of, and it shows him laying every brick, and
Hmm.
it is extremely massive.
Yeah,
And
people are talented with that.
oh man, they are. And this guy, he put electronics in it, of course, and
Hmm.
there's like a little area where there's like an iPad shoved in, and like there's little troopers that are there in a learning environment. They're sitting in a classroom and they're watching the iPad, and the iPad is showing things, propaganda from the Empire, I guess. But in any case, it reminded me of that because that's an amazing build, and people they go crazy. They've built things like a Bugatti, and
Yep.
or like a Bugatti Veyron, or maybe they've built an entire Lamborghini
Hmm.
out of Lego, or whatever. It's just
Yeah.
people just get really talented, and I guess a lot of time. I don't know. That would require a lot of time. I mean, my goodness.
That's the thing, is like Star Wars has always been such a popular IP that they do these collaborations with so many people. Like, just as an example, PowerWash Simulator. Where in the
Yeah, I
world
mean,
did that come from? I mean, it's an
why?
interesting game. I don't. I've seen gameplay of it. It's just very basic. But a lot of people enjoy stuff like that. I don't know if it's just that cozy game vibe or whatever.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
genre, cozy game vibe. Yeah.
but people just enjoy doing that. Maybe they just have that itch of wanting to see something cleaned, and so PowerWash Simulator is
No,
exciting to them. I don't know.
I think it's about what you call me, a completionist.
Oh,
I think it's that. It's kind of that vibe of where like I've got to see it
Mhm.
through. I've got to finish it. So they start cleaning something, and it's like can't leave it halfway done. I mean, come on, you got to clean up. Plus, you get points. You get points for you get points taken away for any dirt you leave behind, right? So
Mhm.
you got to get it, 99% there, and then they'll give it to you and say, okay, 100%.
I will say I am very curious, just to see what the gameplay is like. Maybe I should look into the Power Wash Simulator a little bit more, as far as just like looking up some videos on it. But um,
I've seen it a
maybe,
lot. It's
yeah,
just
maybe having a
first person with
Star
a squirt of
Wars,
water going out. Like
yeah, having a Star Wars theme though. I mean, like, that might be pretty cool to see.
I mean, maybe
No.
you're cleaning, like you're cleaning the Death Star, or you're cleaning
Maybe that's another area that they have. Yeah, that could be
you're
that'd be
cleaning
interesting.
a dirty X-wing. It's like
Mm-hmm,
someone landed, and you're like, I gotta clean this off.
mm-hmm. I'm
Support the Rebel
thinking
Alliance.
And I'm thinking Tatooine. There's probably one of those speeders, not the speeder bikes, but
Oh, speeders.
the
Yeah,
regular speeder that you
land speeders.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah, land speeders. I could see that being maybe that's something that you have to clean up or.
Ta- hey, Tatooine is a dirty place.
Hmm.
Someone needs to clean it up.
Although I'll be honest with you, I feel like Tatooine is overdone. Like I feel like it's just anytime anybody does anything Star Wars, boom, they always throw Tatooine in there. It's like
Yeah.
I get it.
Sarlacc.
Yeah, I
Sarlacc in
get
the
it.
background. Okay, okay.
It's
Boba Fett flying
popular.
around. Yeah. Okay, okay.
Anyway, yeah. So
Moss Eisley in the background. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's cool. It is cool. I mean, I appreciate stuff like that. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how the gameplay is, like what the environment looks like when they actually release it.
Yeah, I'd like to see it. I don't know if I'll
Yeah,
ever play it because that's
yeah.
not my vibe of game. Although you'd think it, because you call me a completionist. I'm like, I think I'm more a completionist when it comes to the game. The game
Hmm.
I have to go down every nook and cranny, but I don't have to clean things that way.
Hmm. So that DLC comes out sometime this summer. I didn't see a specific date. Maybe there is one, but I just didn't see it. So we are looking forward, or for those that are fans of that game, you can look forward to a new DLC.
Cool. All
All
right.
right, let's get into our next segment there. MJ, tools of the week. So here's what tools of the week involve. We're talking websites, we're talking maybe some kind of programs on our computers or whatever, or even mods for games like Minecraft. Whatever we feel like talking about, maybe just share with you out there that maybe you've heard of, maybe you haven't, maybe you're curious about trying something different. We got something out there for you. So MJ, why don't you share yours first?
I think it's called. I might say this wrong, but I think it's called Tricider. TRICIDER.com. Tricider. It's a way of collaborating on brainstorming. So you can get with a group and say you can pose a question, and then people can put in ideas, and then they can upvote the ideas. So it's almost like you have your little tiny Reddit there going on, where you've got like, imagine people at the office deciding where to have the company picnic. Like, well, what are we going to do this year? Let's do something different than last year. Okay, so let's throw together some ideas. And so everybody throws ideas in, and then they'll vote on it, like with each other. And I thought, well, this is one of those things where it's going to add you to death or whatever. I don't know, but uh, or you have to sign up for something. But you don't actually even have to sign up. You can actually just share I guess they call it a magic link or a special link or whatever. You take the special link, you share it with other people, and then that's your question. And then you throw things in like that. And so it works more kind of like Airtable, I guess, where you've got like a collaboration to it, where you can just throw in ideas and it tells you who came up with the idea. So I imagine it asks you for your name or whatever. But so it has something to call you. But I thought it was an interesting collaboration tool. It didn't seem overly ad driven, so I was like, well, I'll go ahead and talk about it. I haven't used it personally, but it looks like a great idea. If not, there needs to be something like this because definitely. I mean, you can accomplish the same thing sort of with like Slack, right? Most businesses have something like Slack where you can get together in a company chat and you can throw out polls, right? However, as a person who works for an organization that does have Slack, there are limitations to it. And you also have these channels, and you may not want everybody, So it's one of those things where you can very specifically invite certain people. You could also do things like personally, like maybe a family. Where's the next family reunion? Send it to family and say, hey, do we want to go to somewhere local? Do we want to go somewhere? Do we want to just have dinner? What are the ideas and where? And you can start, you know, doing the upvoting and downvoting, and you can leave little comments and whatever. So I thought, oh, that's pretty clever. This is it's interesting enough and different enough than like a Slack poll that I thought it was worth mentioning. How about you?
I was just looking at the website for a second. I mean, it looks interesting. Yeah, I've seen a few instances where it would be nice to set up a poll of some kind, but sometimes they're a little bit convoluted with the various setups we have to like, I don't know, just throwing out like WhatsApp, Discord, all these other things. To me, it's always like, okay, I gotta figure out how do you do that again, and because it's not something you use
Yeah.
frequently, but
And you also
chatting,
have to come up with all the options. Like
yeah.
you have to come up with the poll and then the 12 options. You don't have to come up
Mm-hmm.
with the options in this. The people that come in and do the brainstorming generate the options.
Mm.
So that's a lot better.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. So if you like polls, I guess, or if you like making up polls, might be
I
a
call it
good setup.
brainstorming more, but I guess polling is, kind of a larger polling idea.
I think that's what it just looked like to me. You're right. You're right. I think brainstorming is the wording they use too. All right. So as far as me, I thought I would talk a little bit today about a mod for Minecraft, and this is Geyser. So Geyser and something that goes hand in hand with Geyser is called Floodgate. So what is Geyser? Geyser is a server-side plugin or mod that you add to your server. Excuse me. And what it does is it allows you to connect Bedrock players and Java players together into one Java server. So uh, it does a full on translation and it works pretty decent. I've used it multiple times and never really had any issues. So if you're just as an example, if you play with a lot of let's say kids that only have their phones or they only have their tablets, which is usually the biggest reason for people to, it seems to be playing on Bedrock. Uh, you can obviously can't do that, or at least very well. There might be some workarounds on your phones or tablets playing Java. So Bedrock, Affiliate, and Geyser allows these Bedrock players to join a world, so you can play with your Java and Bedrock friends. It's super useful tool. Obviously, you got to factor in the resources it might use up for your server to do those translations, because you're taking literally one set of code and it's translating it into another set of code so that they can communicate properly and render things properly. So there will always be some sort of hit to your performance on your server. So it's something to just keep in mind if you're wanting to run this. If you have a pretty low spec server that can maybe only handle a few people, this might not be the best mod for you to run or plug in to run, because it's going to eat up maybe a little bit more resources. I don't know if it's like a lot more. I've never really done any deep dive into that, but there will be some sort of performance costs on the server. So that is something to keep in mind. But it is super fun. So, Minecraft is an extremely multiplayer heavy game. You can play it solo, no problem. And it's fine. But it seems to be that multiplayer is where this game really shines. I think that's pretty common these days, or a common feeling. So if you have friends that, so let's say you are a Java player, you have your own server, and you just keep trying to convince your Bedrock friends, come on, you got to jump over to Java, and they just aren't interested. look into this plugin, look into this mod. You might not need to push them anymore to get Java. They can just, if they want to stick to Bedrock, they can stick to Bedrock and they can still play with you. Obviously, some of the mechanics are going to be a little bit, just a tiny bit different for the Bedrock players because it is running a Java server. So we know that Bedrock and Java, they aren't a one-for-one complete recreation of each other. So Bedrock physics, I don't know if you'd say physics or mechanics, they are a little bit different. So your Bedrock players might be a little confused why certain things are running the way they
Yeah,
are.
I remember some videos where they did some extensive testing and they found like the jumping distance was a little
Mm.
bit different.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of odd. I can't remember what the difference was or whether it was up or down or positive
Mm-hmm.
for which player, but I do remember there being some kind of craziness there. Also
Yeah.
on the server side, it means opening up another port.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're not a port forward guy, you don't really understand what's going on there, then that's going to be one more you got to do. And also with permissions, because everybody
Right.
whitelists, right? Because you don't want griefers in your server. So that means you have to whitelist all these players that are coming in. And the first thing you'll notice is that they don't have normal usernames. They have their normal, they have a username, but then it's like an asterisk before it. So you have to put that
Mm-hmm.
into the permission line. So, I mean, that's a little weird. You got weirdness, right?
Yeah. Yeah. There's never, yeah, there's a lot of things they have to do in the background to make things work. They did, like with the use of Floodgate, they got the proper usernames working, so they translate better. You're right; they do have like a little asterisk or a little period before their names, um, and that's how the system kind of registers the players properly. But they also do generally they do a decent job of this. The player skins that you have on Bedrock will actually translate into the world on Java. So you'll be able to see their player skins, which is important when you're playing in a multiplayer game. Uh, so that
Surprisingly, it works well. Yeah.
yeah, and it's not perfect. Like Bedrock has a lot of interesting. Uh, what do you call it when
Design choices, I would call it.
yeah, design choices. Oh man, I'm drawing a blank. The geometry of the characters, like in Bedrock, they have a lot more customization than Java can do. So, like, just as an example that popped into my head, like in Bedrock, you could have a peg leg instead of a normal
Oh yeah,
normal
yeah.
player leg,
Yeah,
stuff like
they
that.
sell skins, right? Like
They
sell
yeah they
skins
sell
and
a lot. Yeah,
dances and whatever.
yeah, emojis and emotes or whatever you call them. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of stuff that doesn't necessarily translate into a like a Java player being able to see it, and vice versa. Like if you have other mods on your server, if Floodgate and if Geyser and Floodgate can work, they might not be able to see some of these other modifications you have. It's possible. I have been reading some of their newsletters and that the Geyser and Floodgate team have been putting out, and they are working on a translation method so that mods will actually properly show for Bedrock players. Because they're not running the mods, they're just visually seeing the mods. So if I understood what I was reading, which I'm not super good at technical stuff, I have to read things a lot before I start to understand what they're saying. Uh, that is a potential capability in the future for Geyser and Floodgate. So anyway, I just like it because I, especially these days and age, this day and age, there's tons of kids that love playing this game, but they don't necessarily have access to a computer, but they have a phone or
Yeah.
they have a tablet.
Hardware's that's probably what I thought of as the biggest limitation. These
Yep.
kids don't have a computer.
Mm-hmm. And of course, we know like there is actual like YouTube gamers that play exclusively on Bedrock. That's their thing. But they run servers and all that, and which is fine. I think this is topics that we're going to constantly talk about. But I feel for me that uh, some of the inconsistencies with Bedrock that still aren't matched up well with Java is one of the big reasons why I stick to Java and not like, oh, maybe Bedrock's okay. because one, and MJ, feel free to throw your thoughts in on this too, but with Minecraft, part of the fun is the consistency with how things work. So you can rely on mob spawning, just as an example. So you can rely on how mobs spawn to create farms, which again, that's a big part of what makes Minecraft fun, is being able to create these farms to help you collect resources a little bit quicker. In Bedrock, sometimes, and they've struggled with this for a long time, there's no consistency with that. They've had to restructure how these farms work, and it's not always a great payout for what you're doing. And that's part of the problems with, in my opinion, with Bedrock, that inconsistency. Because I'm a player who enjoys making farms and farming materials. I think that's a fun technical side to the game. So not being able to really rely on proper mechanics makes it a little bit tougher. So that, in my mind, that's one of those reasons why Bedrock still isn't great. They may have fixed some of the spawning mechanics. Maybe they are better now, but that was one of the areas that they seem to always struggle with.
Yeah, Bedrock always threw me because of how it felt. And I
Mm-hmm.
go back to how it felt, but it's probably the mechanics. It's probably also a little bit of the physics because of, your character living in the world. You feel like you take up space, right? You're not a flat 1 pixel wide character walking around. You actually have weight and magnitude and volume so that in a Java environment, you feel that. You feel like you're actually standing on a meter by meter square. And so when you turn around, you're still standing on that meter by meter square. You're probably in the middle of it, or maybe to the far right or to the left or whatever. But as you turn, those things make sense. So your brain reacts in a way that it's like, okay, I just turned. I just turned to the right. I'm fully 90-degree turn. I just did, and then you can 180 that and look the other way. So it always felt to me like that was normal, So coming from Java, that's normal. But in a Bedrock, it felt different because it feels like you're this slice of a character where you're actually 1 pixel by 1 pixel wide. And so you're coming from that perspective of that's how you're represented in the world. And then this thing has to be built around you so that you take up space. And so it was kind of an afterthought. It wasn't designed the same way from the ground up. So it feels different. Like it feels like, when you flip around, when you're looking around, when you're taking up space in the world, it's like it's not real.
Yeah. It's an interesting conversation to get into, because I've also seen there are some features that Bedrock does mechanic wise that I've seen a lot of like hardcore Java players be like, man, I wish we could get that in Java. Like that would be amazing functionality. Um, so there is some benefits in Java, in Bedrock. I mean, so it's not like it's a complete, oh, Java's 100% better no matter what. There's a lot of back and forth when it comes to that, because there is some things that Bedrock can potentially do a little bit better. Um, I think just in general, the ability to cross play with all platforms does make Bedrock a bit of a um, nice feature, I guess you could say. Reaches a much wider audience, but Java still, just to me, is it's the best as far as customizability. It's the best as far as functionality, and I hope Bedrock can one day get to that same level, but we'll
I
see.
love it. I love it because it's free to mod.
Yeah.
If you have to pay for things in Bedrock, and to me, those
Mhm.
microtransactions are like the plague. That's like leprosy to me. You'd think I would love Bedrock though, because of how much I hate Java. Coming from the cybersecurity perspective,
Oh, you mean the
you know,
coding language?
coding language, yeah, Java
Yeah.
is just riddled with security issues. Well, of course, that's always been what we taught. Is that still the case? Well, no, not really. It's matured quite some, but coming from the aspect of Bedrock being written in an object-oriented language like C++, which some say Java is object-oriented. Okay, fine, but to me, it's like C++ is the superior language here.
Mhm.
However, C++, you it's not like a language like Rust where it protects you from the environment. So you can't, step on your own toes, more or less, like you can in Java and you can in C++. You can do that, but you can't in Rust. Rust will prevent you from writing to memory that you don't own, but C++ won't. Hey, if you want to write to any point in memory, go ahead. Now, of course, the operating system is going to stop you because, hey, you just made a violation. But so you're a security risk. You're acting like a virus or whatever. Um, so you'd think I would like the C++ version because of where I come from, but I just don't like the feel of it. To me, the
Mm,
original, the beauty, the beautiful, the free to mod is Java.
mm, yeah. So a little bit of a tangent going from a little
I think that's our middle name,
mod
Tangent.
tangent. Yeah, yeah.
Gaming with
Gaming.
Tangent, MJ, and Blue.
Yeah, that sounds like about right. But I mean, you know what? That's what makes things interesting, right? The conversation. So Geyser. Anyway, getting back to it, Geyser is still a very fun mod to run if you have a lot of people, a lot of friends that play both platforms. So look into it if you're a server owner or manager. Might be something that you could run pretty decently and get more players in, which is always fun. All right. Now let's get into another one of our topics. This is kind of emphasized from last week's episode. So we mentioned this. We're going to talk a bit more. We're going to take a break from the digital and go more towards the physical in talking about board games. So, board games is an avenue of gaming that is super popular and for good reason. Video games are great in a lot of ways because you can play them at home with friends that are very far away, even across the world, which makes video games very enjoyable and a very easy niche to get into as far as playing with friends. Board gaming, however, adds a more in-person social aspect. Of course, I'm not saying you can't do these board games online too, because you can, but it loses a bit of its feel. So board games really were designed for families or friends to get together, enjoy each other's association, and just play fun game together. And that in-person interaction is just awesome. So if you're not much of a board gamer, I understand, but you might be missing out on something that can be really enjoyable because human interaction, even though it can be tough sometimes, is actually really important for everybody's mental health. So enjoying that is important. So we're going to get into a bit on specifics with board gaming. So MJ, let's start with you here. What are some of your favorite board games? Maybe ones that you would recommend to other people.
Well, if you talk about history, growing up, we played a lot of board games. We weren't in the digital world yet, so
Right.
I owned a computer, but it was an Atari 600 XL. It was a computer. I'm not talking about the console, although I did have a console too later. But that computer was mine. People didn't. My family didn't play on it. So whenever I was playing with my family, any kind of game, it was always a board game, of course, or cards. We had a lot of card games we played. We played every card game imaginable, except for ones that required special cards, like canasta or bridge or other things that required like special cards. But we did um, Crazy Eight and whatever else, other kinds of games. Sometimes we make up our own home rules too. But the game that solidly in my mind is Monopoly because we played it
Mm.
like crazy. I know a lot of people that's probably cliche, like, oh, that's the game that you play if you don't have any other interesting games, or if you can't agree, you always flip back to Monopoly. But the thing is we did it a lot. We did Monopoly a lot. We would get into it, or especially over the summer. We're just so bored. It wasn't like today where you just, every summer you're off on a trip, you're going to summer camp, or people today are pretty heavily distracted. In my age, growing up, people weren't heavily distracted. They didn't have a lot funds to be able to spend on lavish vacations, multi-week vacations. So for us, it was board games. It kept you inside, kept you cool. You didn't have to stay out in the sun all day. You had something to do for hours. So it got to where, though, I'll tell you, Monopoly was banned in our house for a while.
Why?
Well, me and my oldest sister are very competitive. My other sisters, no. I have three older sisters, right? So I have my oldest sister. She is very competitive. I am very competitive. And the ones in the middle, they're not so competitive. They don't care. They're barely playing just to spend time with us, I guess, or something. I don't know. Maybe they enjoy it a little. One of them liked to be the banker all the time. So that's fine. But I guarantee you, by the end of a game, either her or me would own the bank. We would own every single dollar in the game, and you would exist by our pleasure. So, we would have more money than the bank. It's just how we played. Some of it was a little bit of a custom rules because we would allow custom rules. Like you could win. One custom rule that people do a lot is every time they have to pay a fine or a fee, they throw money in the pot in the middle, and then whoever lands on free parking gets that money. So that's a pretty common house rule, which is
Mhm.
not in the game. The game has no such rule, but a lot of people think that that's just in Monopoly because it's so common, but it's not. We would do that. We would also do other games like there was no limit to the bank. In real Monopoly, there's a limit. You can only use the money that you have. So you can't buy that house because there's no more money. There's no more
Mhm.
houses. So you were limited to the physical meeples you had.
Yep.
So according to the rules of Monopoly, you can't buy another house because there's no more left. Well, we would use other things, right? We would go grab another Monopoly game and rip it open and pull its houses out. I mean, we would break the game, right? And so we would have houses all up and down every single row. I mean, we got predatorial. So Dad just had to come in and say, "You're not playing this game again," and that's it. And it was just gone for like a summer. I can't remember if it was one summer or two, but yeah, it was not allowed anymore. But we played other games too, like Life. Life was a
Mhm.
big deal. The crazy thing about Life that I didn't like about it was that it told a story where you were always successful.
Mm.
So it didn't seem like real life. I guess I was a very depressive little kid, but to me, it's like everybody wanted to be the doctor or the lawyer, right, and have 3 or 4 kids or whatever. And um, I remember having this little, you had this little car, and you push these little pegs in the car, and you're like, that's your kids, right? You're rolling around with your kids, and we would have like so many kids that we have multiple cars, or you had to like take the pegs and just like put them on top, and you just kind of squeeze them in. And so between the other pegs, we would squeeze other pegs in there, and it's because you have so many kids, you wouldn't fit in one
Mhm.
car. Like this is stupid, but it got ridiculous, right? I didn't care for it that much, but it was all right. I liked to play it because my family played it. And,
Mhm.
it was a story you told for an hour that was just crazy, and it's fine. And I loved, being a kid. It was very tactile to me to look at the game board, and it was so very tactile. It had these turns in it and highways
Mhm.
and ups and downs and like little mountains and things. So it was a tactile kid with
The spinner.
in a spinner. It had little mountains in it. It was very interesting.
Mhm.
As far as that goes. But those two games are pretty solid. No other games were that solid in my memory, although we did have a few here and there.
Right.
But those two
I
were the ones that were big.
I will say my family played those two growing up. I personally am not a fan of Monopoly. I never was because I got bored. Whenever I played that game, I got bored super fast. So it's like my family a lot of times would want to play it and I would always be like, "Oh, fine, I don't want to, but all right." And to this day, I don't really care for Monopoly at all. I've been told by people I got to try the card game Monopoly Go. They said that's
Hmm.
a little bit more fast paced, and obviously it's a card game, so it's a little bit different. Um, so maybe I'll give that a shot someday. But yeah, just Monopoly was not much. I did enjoy Life, but that was a game that I kind of enjoyed, but nobody else seemed to want to play. So we went both ways. Uh, I don't know if this happened to you, MJ. So growing up, we had pretty basic, regular deck of cards, playing that a lot. Um, Board games, like you were just saying, the standard Monopoly, Life. There was maybe a couple other like oddballs that we tried out growing up. Just like little kid game. What was the one? Mousetrap. I don't know if you
We
remember
tried
that one.
Mousetrap. Yeah.
I think I just like putting the thing together and watching it watching it work. Rube Goldberg style machine.
Yeah, we never
But
played the game. We just built it, you know.
yeah, yeah. So stuff like that was always enjoyable. But for just because the area I lived in was very small, we did not, it was a farming town in the rural areas of New York. There's not there wasn't a lot of variation that people really had. So when I eventually moved out of that town and ended up around a lot more people that I just hung out with, I started to get introduced to all these other games, games I had never heard of. I had a friend say, "You've never heard of this game? It's like one of the most popular games in the world." I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. uh, so I have you did you ever like realize that later on? Like there's like such a vast expanse of other games that you just never really knew were there.
Are you talking about specifically card games or other kinds of games?
Anything, just in general.
There were other board games that we just never played because we just didn't ever buy them because they didn't
Hmm.
look very interesting. But like
Hmm.
Sorry or whatever else. But as far
Oh,
as
sorry.
card games, I feel like we had a huge repertoire of card games. We could say, hey, what do you want to do today? Rummy, or like Crazy Eights, or we
And are you talking just using a standard deck of cards and
yeah,
just playing
standard deck
those?
of
Yeah,
cards, yeah.
yeah.
And you just have different goals or different, the game just played differently. It was just the same deck of cards, sometimes
Hmm.
with the Joker, sometimes without the Joker, just
Hmm.
depending on how it goes.
Yeah.
They'd also play this fast-paced game that was sort of like solitaire called Nerds. I think they called it Nerds, where
Hmm.
you remember that? You used multiple
I've
decks.
I think I've played it before. Yeah, I'm not very often, but I have played
My
it.
sisters loved it. They were very fast at it. I got into it too. It was pretty fast and it's fast paced and it's fun. It was wild. And also Spoons. Did you ever play Spoons, where you had to pass the cards along? And
Yes. I'm not a huge fan of the fast paced games like that. Like
oh, we loved that. Yeah.
because I'm not an overly competitive person personally. So to me, it's like I don't I don't really react super quick with stuff like that, and it kind of gets more frustrating for me than fun because I'm not that aggressive. Anyway, so you have played a bunch of stuff like that. So for me, it was very much we had same thing, deck of cards.
I can't
We had
think of where we got the games
yeah,
because you say that, and I'm like, well, where did he learn? Where it made me think, where do we learn these games?
yeah.
And I can't tell you. I don't know. We just did them.
Sometimes like especially with just a deck of cards, those kind of card games, I feel like they're just handed down, so to speak, by your family. Like there's a game that we played called Pitch. I don't know if you've ever played Pitch before.
No, I don't
Pitch
think
is
so.
a lot of fun. I found out later there's different ways of playing it. Like they're kind of like house rules kind of thing. The general concept's the same, but there's like little nuances. I always liked the way my family played it because I maybe it's just because that's how we grew up playing it. But that was a constant in our household. We would play that game all the time with our grandparents and everything. It was very fun.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, so for me, let's get a little bit more into maybe some slightly more obscure, maybe not obscure, but ones that we came to learn later. And I'll go first if you want, MJ, and then you can share yours. One game that I was talking about earlier, like somebody told me this is like one of the most popular games in the world. I had never even heard of it before. Catan. Like
Mhm.
Catan, I found out was made by some dude in Germany, and it came over to the States at some point. I had so much fun playing this game. I'm like, where did this come from? Like, how come I've never heard of this game before? This is actually really enjoyable. And then you found out, oh, there's expansions. You can have up to 6 players. Like, oh, that's so cool. Not only that, there's other expansions, seafarers, knights, and cities and knights, or something like that. And of course, if you look at their website, they have more. They have a Hawaii version now of Catan. Like, I'm like, where did that come from? I'm like, all right, whatever. Uh, but this game is super enjoyable. If you've never played Catan before, great game. Like, you should try it out. It's not cheap. It's like, I was a little surprised when I started learning like how expensive some of these board games are, because I grew up playing Monopoly in life. Like, it's like 10, $20, whatever it was, $15. Now it's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh no, yeah, this is like $40. So like,
40, $50,
whoa, yeah.
yeah.
Risk. I was just thinking Risk popped into my mind too as an old
Risk,
game
yeah.
that I didn't play too much when I was little, but I at least knew about that one.
My family never
Uh,
liked it. I liked it, but they never liked it, so we never
Strategy,
played. Yeah. As well as, chess. I love
chess.
chess, but my
Yep.
family didn't like it. And they
Yeah.
loved checkers because how simple it was, but I was like, I hate checkers.
My
But
grandfather was very good at chess, so we could never beat him.
yeah, you always got somebody that's good, and
Yeah, yeah.
you end up just playing against them the whole time.
Granted, my grandfather's also the kind of guy who literally wrote a walkthrough guide of a video game that he enjoyed that was all puzzles, all complicated puzzles. So yeah,
Mm,
he would like chess. Yeah. Uh, so that was Catan was definitely one
Catan.
of those
Yep.
games that was just really, really fun.
It
Um,
is fun. I have played it. My wife's family brought it on a vacation one time, and I was just, wow, this is great. I love this game.
mhm.
But it didn't strike with everybody because
It
most
doesn't.
people are just
No.
like, oh, I can't manage the resources in my head. I don't know. I can't do that. I don't see it.
Yeah.
You know?
So that one, I'm just trying to think. There was a card game that was introduced to me that I'd never played before. Granted, you can't take games too seriously, but I just to throw it out there, Munchkin is a very fun card game, but it can get very frustrating because you're playing against everybody else, trying to be the first one to get to 10 points, and people can sabotage you big time. So if you take things too seriously in games, this may not be the best game for you, because there's a good chance you're going to get mad and it's not worth it at that point. But if you take it lightly and you just enjoy the game, it is a lot of fun. They have so many different versions. I have Space Munchkin was the version I bought. But there's also I also have Marvel Munchkin. They made a Marvel version of the game. Um, it's a fun, silly game, as long as you don't take it too seriously. So that was another one that I was thinking of that I really enjoyed.
I love Ticket to Ride.
Ticket to Ride,
That's an amazing
excellent
game.
game.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
It's a little bit of resource management, but you're also got this, you're trying to extend these things. You can see it. It's such a large board game.
Hmm.
And, you're seeing your company, widen and grow. And to me, that's just amazing. So it's almost like a little part of that Monopoly game where it was just the railroad, gets
Hmm.
expanded. And you're like, man, I always wish that Monopoly would do more with the railroad part of it, because in my history book, the railroad mattered more, like it was,
Oh yeah.
but, real estate did too. I get it, but, whatever. I guess you could have either way, right?
Yeah.
But Ticket to Ride was pretty amazing. When I played it the first time, I was like, man, this is fun.
Yeah, I did like that game a lot too. That was another one like that had been around for a long time that I had never heard of before. I was kind of excited to find that one too.
I like board games that are now, I guess, because everything's been done, because every board game is either a variation of a board game that came before, or a different take on it, or it's just outright stealing the idea or
Hmm.
whatever, just playing it a different way or different color or different style or whatever. You know, we never played backgammon, or we never played Go, or we did Chinese checkers sometimes. My mom liked Chinese checkers, and so she would often like try to talk me into playing Chinese checkers. And we were okay at it. We did back and forth. It was just kind of a slow game to me. It just went on
Mm-hmm.
forever and ever, and then finally, then at the end got really exciting because you suddenly moved over. But I didn't like it too much. But I just played for her.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
there are other games these days that you're always looking for the game that has the interesting mechanic now. So it's
Mm-hmm.
more important to get the interesting mechanic than it is to like really have a go out there and find a new game that people are playing. Because go to the store, go to Target or whatever, and you look at board games, they're all the same, still the same. But you'll see Catan,
Variations.
you'll see a Catan there now, so that's good. But
Yep.
it is all variations, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of them that I've seen lately that are very interesting. Like if somebody brought that, I would play that in an instant. There's one game that um, I saw a play. There's four people gathered and they were playing, and the name of it was uh, I think it was called The Resistance.
Okay. Card game.
It was kind of a board card game, mostly a board game. I think you were basically there were two people that had special roles,
Mm.
and the rest didn't. So you could play with any number, but two people had special roles. I think that's if I'm going by memory, but I remember at the start of the game, everybody had to close their eyes. And then the two people that were the spies, because you knew you were a spy, because you got handed these cards and you looked at the cards secretly and then you put it down. And then it was like, if if you're the spy, right? And so everybody had to close their eyes. And then the only people that could open their eyes briefly are people that were the spies. And so both the people that were the spies opened their eyes and looked at each other. And so they knew who the spies were. And then they closed their eyes again. And then everyone else opened their eyes all at once. And so now the two people that are spies, know who they are. And now they work against the other people. And you never know who they are, right? So it made an interesting mechanic. And I don't remember the mechanic of the game, but I remember that start to it. And I was like, wow, that's fascinating.
Hmm.
What an interesting start that is to a game that pits people against each other in kind of a weird way.
Yeah.
I, the only other thing I've seen interesting mechanics like there's one that you play in the dark. Well, I don't know if you. It's been so long since I've seen it, but it's basically like you're playing a horror game, but you never see anything because you're basically in the dark. It starts out you've crashed your car in a forest and everybody jumps out of the car and you have no lighting. You have no flashlights, no nothing. And so you're basically struggling to find each other in the dark, and then you're like trying to find a way out of the forest. And you're on a board. So you're trying to, with your characters on the board, trying to go this way, go this way, go this way. Meanwhile, something's hunting you. So I can't remember all the mechanics and how it worked out, but
Mm-hmm.
I thought, that's kind of interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
anytime you have like an interesting element thrown in like that, it's pretty incredible. It's almost like a little escape game, like right there
Mm-hmm.
in your um, in your home, right there, just among your family and friends.
Yeah.
So that was always interesting.
That's cool. I'd like, yeah. I wish we had more time because we could really, really dive into this. I feel like I've seen the game you're talking about before. I don't know if I've really watched much on it, but I have definitely seen it. Have you ever played a card game called Golf before?
It sounds familiar.
The gist of it is everybody gets four cards. They can't look at their cards, all of their cards. They have to have them face down.
Mhm.
But you're allowed to look at two of them. And then you go around and you're trying to replace your cards with the lowest cards possible. But most of the time you're not quite sure of what cards you have because you're trying to swap them out with from the deck.
Mhm.
Then once you think you have the lowest hand, you call it. Everybody ends up doing it. So that's what golf is. There's a variation on this game that somebody came up with called Archduke. And we just recently played this. Really, it's a fun game, but it adds a lot more challenge and variation. Like you get cards now where you can look at other people's cards if you want. You can swap people's cards if you want. Um, so it makes it pretty fun and interesting. But that's a new game that we recently got and played with somebody, and then we ended up buying it because we liked it. So yeah,
Mhm.
there's so many different things. Like yeah, there's variations on stuff, but sometimes those variations make the game more fun and interesting. There's nothing wrong with that. I will just because of timing, I will recommend a YouTube series that I really enjoyed watching. Actually, Will Wheaton, who played Wesley Crusher on Star Trek, made this YouTube series. I don't think it's been running for a while, but what he would do was he would get a bunch of different people, usually actors, together, and they would play board games. And it was a good way to get introduced to a bunch of different kinds of board games. But it's called tabletop. So if you look up tabletop or Will Wheaton's tabletop on YouTube, you should be able to find it. And it'll introduce you to some new
Yeah.
games that you probably have never heard of or tried, and you might
Uh-huh.
find interesting.
That's where I saw that game I was talking about.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, the spy game. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Resistance.
I think it's called the
Right.
Resistance. Yeah.
Yeah. So fun plug, something for you guys to take a look at. But unfortunately, we have run out of time. Me and MJ's got to try to get a little bit more sleep because he's still not feeling the greatest. Hopefully, we haven't gone too long for you. We'll see.
We'll see.
um, and we'll definitely get more into board games in the future because I feel like that's such an integral part of life in general, as far as gaming with friends and family. So uh, we'll have more fun in the future. But
Mhm.
MJ, any final thoughts before we end the episode?
Hey, ask me next time. But we did actually buy a couple of those subscription boxes where you get a box and the box is a game.
Mm.
So it's kind of a board game, kind of an escape room type thing.
Hmm.
We did buy a couple of those and we played them and we enjoyed them. So
Okay.
I'll go into those experiences later
Okay.
if we want to do that.
Well, if you've actually played with any of them, make a note of it. We could talk about it a little bit next week.
Okay.
Sounds good. All right. Well,
Well,
just
speaking of next week, what are we doing next week?
oh, you know what? I blanked on that. I was just trying to get things ready for this week. Let's see here. Let's see what some topics that we have.
Think you had a guest coming, but I don't mean to
I'm
put
not
words in
sure
your
if
mouth.
that'll be next week. We'll see. We'll see. Let's say
Okay.
tentatively we might have a guest.
Okay.
But if not, maybe we can talk about that one we already did. Hmm. You know what? We'll have to talk about it because we'll have to get an idea of what we want to talk about. We have some options here, but I'm not sure which one I feel like tackling.
Okay.
But yeah, potentially maybe a guest next week. We'll see. But anyway, just a kind of a little bit of housekeeping at the end of our episode. If you want to, you can visit our website at mjandbluegaming.card.co. We have the link to all of our socials there. We even have our email posted there as well. So if you feel like emailing us, go for it. Most likely, though, if you're going to maybe comment on or send us anything, it'll probably be over YouTube, maybe Spotify. We do see comments on those platforms. So if you do have any questions, thoughts, maybe you have some comments that you have about what we talked about that you don't really agree with, that's fine. We'd like to hear your opinion on it. Maybe you have an idea for an episode in the future or a topic that we can go over. Yeah, throw it our way. We'd be happy to look into it. Um, but yeah, we always appreciate any input we can get from the audience out there. If you feel like you got any value out of this podcast and you want to think about supporting us in any way, please feel free to do that. As of right now, we have a Buy Me a Coffee account set up. You can find that on our website. And I think I might have the links to it in other locations as well. So you should be able to find that. But also just sharing this podcast with other people, fellow gamers out there that maybe like to hear people's takes on different things. That's a nice, easy, and completely free way of supporting me and MJ in this endeavor. I am Blue.
I have been MJ.
Have a good one, everybody.
Bye-bye.